Hey Atlanta, Apple is open for small business. That's right. We're here to make starting and running your business simpler. With privacy and security built in on all devices, it's easy for you to protect your customers' data. And if you need hardware or software support, you'll get advice from business experts at no cost whatsoever. So you can focus more on the soup du jour and less on, the other stuff. At Apple, we're open for your small business. Go to apple.com/small business or visit an Apple store to learn more.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome across America. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I want to, if you weren't here at the end of the last hour, and my apologies to Angie, we have a hard break. I have no flexibility in allowing the conversation to go on at that time. But I want to spend a few moments addressing this issue. So Angie is a grandmother in Georgia. And Angie has an 11-year-old granddaughter who has special needs, who is in a special education class, and refuses, as I understand it, to call the female special education teacher by male pronouns. So we have a special needs child who has a special needs teacher whose special need is to impose her narcissism and the pathology related thereto on the kid who has learning disabilities. This makes my blood boil. This is infuriating. I don't know the school district. Angie was kind enough to not mention it on air. But this is pathological. This, if you're a Republican in the Georgia legislature, this again is why I'm such a fan of aggressive, well-funded school choice. Because in my dream, we would shut down every government school in the state of Georgia and let the market thrive. Because if parents were given the equivalent money, they would be able to take their children and send them to a good private school. You shut down the public schools and divide up the money by the families, each family would have enough to afford to send their kid to a homeschool cooperative or a private school. We wouldn't need the public schools where the pathologies of the left are taking over. This makes my blood pressure go up to think about this poor child who has a pathologically narcissistic teacher who is visibly and clearly female, who insists on using male pronouns, who the child then gets in trouble with because the child says the truthful common sense thing that two women cannot give birth to a child, it takes a man. And the teacher insists on using masculine pronouns. It infuriates me that the school system, and if you didn't hear, this grandmother is going with her kid and grandkid to the school meeting, and they try to browbeat the family into uttering the lie instead of standing by the truth. Why are we allowing the pathologies of the teacher to override the needs of the child? How did we get this far? And I gotta say again, I think it's about power. Archbishop Chaput, was the Catholic archbishop in Philadelphia. He has a famous line that evil preaches tolerance until it's dominant, and then it seeks to silence good. And these pathologies that we're seeing from the left, they're seeking to silence good. They're seeking to make normal deviant and the deviant normal. And it is a pathology. It is a power play. It is an attempt to impose the will of a narcissist on everyone else. And you hear these comments all the time now, and you got these Gen Z kids headed off to college, and they confront this stuff, and everyone wants to be nice. Everyone is told to be kind to others, be nice. In a civil society, we're supposed to be nice to each other. It is the good manners is the lubricant for society to continue to move forward without grinding its gears and overheating. Good manners are social lubricant. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. No, ma'am. Please and thank you. And into this comes a bunch of narcissistic people who have decided to exert ultimate control over everyone else by making them utter a lie in the name of deploying the social lubricant of nice, good manners to keep society going. And who is actually the person deploying the bad manners? It's the pathologically narcissistic person who demands that you twist the English language to utter a lie in the name of getting along with them, who say, I am not, though I am visibly a man, I'm not, I'm a woman, and you will call me ma'am. And into the mix, you have an 11-year-old with learning disabilities who has special needs, who with the innocence of a child understands men cannot become women, and women cannot become men. And the special needs child with the learning disabilities has the audacity, because she doesn't know any better, to speak the truth. And what happens? The school system punishes the child. That's perverse. That's demented. And that has happened here in a public school in Georgia. And you got to understand, it is power. It's about power. It is narcissism. It's a mental health issue. Narcissism is a form of mental illness. And it's what's happening in these situations where someone, and by the way, I got to just say this as well. There are a lot of people who go to the big city and they confront these pathologies and neuroses of the left, and suddenly they're vilified. They're made the bad guy because they country come to town where we don't have boys who think they're girls. We don't have boys who dress up in dresses. You're not used to it. You want to be liked. You want to exercise good manners, but it's an uncommon thing to call a boy with an Adam's apple a girl, and so you slip up and you say he instead of she. Or my favorite is the plural pronoun they. The girl who has the short haircut that is dyed purple, you call her she instead of they. And all hell breaks loose because of it. What it is it's that narcissist and the allies of the narcissist, those who also suffer from other pathologies, who wish to exercise power over you. Think about the story I talked about yesterday from the Daily Wire. You had a man in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, who was a tennis coach, teacher on staff, clearly a man, dresses up like a woman, goes into the girls' bathrooms, harasses the girls, asks them deeply uncomfortable questions. The girls complain. And when the school board is questioning whether or not to rehire this man who continues to go into girls' bathrooms and harass the girls and identifies himself as a woman, even when he's clearly not, you have the white allies show up and demand that this man be rehired. You're a Nazi and a bigot if you don't. Those people themselves have their own neuroses and pathologies and mental illnesses. And the way that they try to normalize themselves and their own pathologies is they stand in allyship with the other mentally ill people. It's the crazy standing with the crazy, demanding that the truth become a lie and the lie become a truth. Why? Because it's how they exert control over society. You must bow to the will of crazy. And you can't. And what have the crazy people done through DEI and human resources departments? They've essentially created a structure where if you tell the truth, you're punished. And they call you the Nazi. This is the Nazi-like tactic. This is the East German communist tactic. And it's what they're doing through human resource offices in corporate America. It's what they're doing through DEI offices, in colleges, in public schools, and in the Fortune 500. You must stand up and utter the lie. The lie must become the truth. And because that is the ultimate sign of your conformity to the pathologies of the left. It is announcing your surrender. And what are you surrendering? The truth. The whole purpose of a DEI officer at this point in corporate America is to get you to embrace lies as truth and to punish you for standing for the real truth. That's what DEI is about. It is a heretical religion, and it forces your compliance in order to keep your job, in order to keep your station in life. You've got to speak the lie as truth and do it convincingly. And there is no grace for you in this religion. You either speak the lie as truth or you burn. The fact that these pathological, psychologically broken people are imposing their will on an 11-year-old with special needs in a public school is horrific. It is wild that these people call you the Nazis when they're deploying the tactics of the Nazis, which was to demand that people speak lies as truth. Because once you begin to speak the lie as truth, they've got you. They control you. They know they can break you. And it is your job, it is your obligation to stand for truth. But see, they know you have something that they can use against you. You have that underlying foundational belief that the good manners are a social lubricant. It keeps society going. It does. It's a great line. I think it was Robert Heinlein and someone else who said it, that good manners are the lubricant that keeps society running. It keeps the system from overheating. It's the lubricant. It's the oil in the system. And they use that they weaponize that against you because they're okay with the friction, they're okay with the fire, and they're okay with the societal breakdown because they're broken people already. So you've got to navigate still being good-mannered while also being truthful. One of the most common ways to do it is just stop using pronouns and use the person's name. Well, Adam went to the store and Adam bought himself feminine hygiene products because Adam has decided that Adam is not male. It's clunky. What they're doing is they're imposing their will on you, their pathologies on you, and you got to stand up to it. And you got to understand they've weaponized human resource officers and DEI departments against you. And you got to stand for the truth, like the 11-year-old special needs girl who can't understand why any woman would want to use male pronouns, and the school system has come out to punish the kid instead of dealing with the pathological power play of a narcissist special education teacher. Stand up for the kid. Stand up for the truth. All right, let me go to Don's phone call here. Don, welcome to the Eric Erickson Show. How are you?
Great, Eric. How are you?
Great. What's going on?
Hey, I just wanted to first give you a compliment. I was a Rush listener for 30 plus years, and I never thought that anybody could jump in the noon to 3 time slot, but you did, and you're doing a phenomenal job.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Don. I appreciate it. Thank you. So far.
Yeah. Earlier in the show, you said, you actually played that Kamala Pepper clip when she was talking to the black men, I guess, wherever she was at.
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking about how she couldn't relate to people. And I haven't heard anybody in any platform yet across social media talk about what you did, and you articulated my thoughts exactly. I have this feeling that I know she can't relate. And one of the reasons why is it led me to think about that ad. Have you seen the Men for Kamala ad?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Talked about it last week. Yeah.
Okay. It is awful. It's cringeworthy. And it's something that each man in there is saying something that men would never say. A guy doesn't say, I eat carburetors for breakfast. That's just not something that we say, but what it is the Democrats' idea, Kamala's idea of what a man should be,
mm-hmm.
which is totally off base. They can't relate. The other ad, have you seen the grandma ad?
I think I have seen that one too. Yeah.
She's got this 80-year-old grandma, and she gives the middle finger and says, Trump is giving the middle finger to the middle class. And any grandmama that I know, for 50 years I've been around, I've never, ever seen a grandmother flip somebody off. Now, I'm sure there are a few, but the ones that I know don't. But that's their idea of what and how people would respond, which is absolutely, totally off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, her inside her bubble, and I don't want to say, well, I do want to say San Francisco liberal. She just can't talk to regular Americans in these swing states. And listen, a person in Pittsburgh is not like a person from Berkeley. A person from Berkeley can maybe speak to someone from Madison, Wisconsin, but not necessarily to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Certainly can't speak to someone from Phoenix or Tucson or from Savannah, Georgia, or Macon, Georgia. And she doesn't have that ability to talk to these people outside her bubble. And when she does, she just says outlandishly crazy things, which we'll get to when we come back about what she said about going into Rafah. But first, I got to tell you about Swiss America and the secret war on cash. They've been the trusted leader in precious metal for 40 years, and they've been warning people about the secret war on cash with banks collapsing around the country and the government trying to track your spending down to the penny of where it goes. Swiss America has prepared a report called The Secret War on Cash. They're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau, and they can educate you on protecting your assets in this shocking report, The Secret War on Cash. It takes less than 15 minutes to read. You can get it completely for free. If you want it for free, call or text Swiss America at 800-289-2646. By the way, this applies to digital currencies as well. The government wants to track where you're spending your money, whether you want them to or not. Get the Secret War on Cash report completely free. Just mention my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K, when you call or text 800-289-2646. That's 800-289-2646. Just mention Eric, E-R-I-C-K. You can text them to 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply. Greetings. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. The phone number, 877-973-7425. I got an email from a listener about my last monologue. This thing happened to the school. I don't know what school it is. That the grandmother has called in, just is furious. I do have an email from a listener saying they are aware of this particular situation and confirming it being so. But I gotta actually tweet. Why does Brian Kemp allow this? Kemp is no Ron DeSantis, that's for sure. Look, I don't want to belittle anyone, but we have 50 states in the union. And those states have different power structures. And Ron DeSantis, as governor in Florida, has a lot of power over the education system. Under the Constitution of Georgia, the governor of Georgia does not. It's like the whole election stuff back in 2020. Why doesn't Kemp do such and such? And what people didn't seem to understand is that the governor in Georgia is prohibited from playing a role in elections other than a mandatory requirement to certify the election when told to do so by the Secretary of State. The same with education. There's an elected school superintendent in Georgia and a school board in Georgia, and the governor has very limited powers when it comes to education in the state. And I mean, to get charter schools in the state, Governor Nathan Deal had to get the legislature and the people to amend the Constitution. Couldn't unilaterally do it. You got to understand that. Why doesn't the governor do such and such? Because the governor is bound by the Constitution of his state, and every state is different. The governor of New Jersey, for example, literally appoints every single person in the executive and judicial branch. The governors of New Jersey appoint everybody. It's a super powerful position in New Jersey. In Georgia, district attorneys and judges are elected. It's just, every state is different. You got to keep that in mind. There are different things. Say, well, he should be able to fight. No, in some cases you can't do it. There are separation of powers issues and legal issues. So before you throw Brian Kemp under the bus for intervening, understand that the Constitution of the state binds him and prohibits his actions in some cases. Now, that being said, got to move on. I got to move on to a statement uttered by Kamala Harris. It is important that you hear the statement from Kamala Harris. This is from March of this year in an interview with ABC News.
We have been clear in multiple conversations and in every way that any major military operation in Rafah would be a huge mistake. Let me tell you something. I have studied the maps. There's nowhere for those folks to go. And we're looking at about 1.5 million people in Rafah who are there because they were told to go there, most of them. And so we've been very clear that it would be a mistake to move into Rafah with any type of military operation.
A mistake, but would there be consequences if he does move forward?
Well, we're going to take it one step at a time, but we've been very clear in terms of our perspective on whether or not that should happen.
Kamala Harris, because she studied the maps, told Israel, don't go to Rafah. Don't go to Rafah. You can't go to Rafah. They went to Rafah. And because they went to Rafah, they got the leader of Hamas. They were able to rescue hostages. Had they not gone, this would not have happened. The Biden administration has been wrong the whole time, and God bless Bibi Netanyahu for ignoring them the whole time. Good for Netanyahu and Israel for pursuing this. By the way, Joe Biden has released a statement saying that it is, quote unquote, a good day for Israel and the world, that Yahya Sinwar is now dead. Well, yeah, it is. But had Israel listened to you, Joe, and to Kamala Harris, he'd still be alive. He'd still be alive. All right. I got to play this clip for you. This is Lawrence Jones, Fox News, goes to a barbershop in Michigan. I believe it's Detroit.
At the end of the day, I'm Trump because my eyes open. I can see that he was doing a lot better than what we're going through right now. You can't even go to the grocery stores right now without making a life decision on what you want to get. You know, you got to compromise. We don't have to go through that 4 years ago.
You know, just being able to just live on a day-to-day basis, it has become a little harder at this point in time.
Those are black men in a barber shop in Detroit talking to Lawrence. Y'all, these should be warning signs for the Democrats. You're not telling black men, I grow chili peppers and I'll give you weed, is not really selling them on Kamala Harris. Because what's selling these men on Donald Trump is they remember the economy. And they don't blame Trump for COVID. And this is something the Democrats can't seem to get out of. They blame Donald Trump for COVID. China is to blame for COVID. And when you said that in 2020, the Democrats told you it was racist because that's what Donald Trump said. No one's ever blamed Donald Trump for COVID, and they shouldn't. And the economic fallout from COVID wasn't Donald Trump's fault. It was a global pandemic provoked by the Chinese. And so only the Democrats blame Trump for COVID because they have to. Nobody else does. And you got these black men in the barbershop saying we weren't having to make life choices when we went to the grocery store about what we could buy. And there's no answer for that on the Democratic Party side. There's no answer for that. She can't recognize that she's got to put distance between her and Joe Biden. And, listen, I shoot me for saying this if you must, but the reality is I do kind of feel bad for Kamala Harris in that she is so loyal to Joe Biden, who put her in a position to run for president. She's not willing to throw him under the bus. And the only way for her to win at this point is to throw him under the bus. But she can't do it. One, it would be very bad form and an act of disloyalty. And two, she just can't bring herself to put distance between her and Joe Biden at a time she must. And it's gotten too late now. It's gotten way too late for her to distance herself. And as a result, she's bound to the Biden-Harris administration and the economy. Let me just give you the calendar now. We're if you're listening to this in delay, I'm talking to you live, October 17th. It's 2:43 p.m. in the afternoon here on the East Coast. Next week, a week from today, is the 24th. That's one full week. The end of the next week is Halloween. Parents are going to be out with their kids trick-or-treating, not thinking about politics. And a week after that is going to be 2 days after the election. It's going to be the night I'm at KRMG in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So you've got now less than 2 real full weeks to get this campaign gone. You got 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 days, really? This is the last week to really put in big programmatic changes for your events. Thereafter, it's all about getting out the vote. Getting out the vote. You got to mobilize your base, and Kamala Harris is having trouble talking to the people she needs. This is clear now. And the Democrats continue to hurt themselves in various ways that resonate with voters. So this is the conversation Scott Jennings had earlier today on CNN. Listen to this.
State, which he can now do because of the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. And he's going to take on these countries that screw American workers. That's the plan. And by the way, he's going to crack down on immigration to the benefit of American workers.
He's going to deport 20 million people, the people who pick your crops, the people who process your meat, the people who, care for your grandmother, the people who serve all sorts of critical functions in this country. Yeah.
Wow. That's Catherine Rampel, the progressive economics reporter from the Washington Post, belittling Hispanic Americans again. Oh, they're going to deport the people who take care of your grandmother. They're going to deport the people who make your. They're going to deport the illegal aliens. It's a remarkable admission from the left that they think this country needs illegal immigrants who can be paid beneath the table, lower wages to do this stuff. They want a society, again, what they're trying to get people to do. It's not just to articulate the lie as truth, but to acknowledge that the law is bad and that they are running roughshod over the law. You forget E-Verify, we need the illegals. How racist is it as well to say these illegal, they're the people who pick the crops. We need them. We essentially need slave labor. Of course, it's the Democrats who are, we got to have slavery. This time we're going to pay them, but we're going to pay them below. We're going to pay them underneath the table, and we're going to make them do the jobs Americans don't want to do, just like we did back before the Civil War. Of course, this is the Democratic position. The Democrats haven't changed very much since the 1800s. We're gonna make this time, though, instead of the black people, it's gonna be the brown people. And we'll give them a little money. We're going to do reparations for the black people, for the brown people, but we're not going to pay them even minimum wage, and we're certainly not giving them benefits. We're going to pay them under the table. We're going to dodge E-Verify. This is absurdly offensive stuff. And they always go back to that. If we don't have illegal aliens, who's going to pick the crops? If we don't have illegal aliens, who's going to scrub your toilet? If we don't have illegal aliens, who's going to mow your grass? The slaves? That's what the Democratic position basically is. Because these people aren't getting minimum wage and they're not getting benefits. They're getting under-the-table wages and they get deported. I think I've told you all this before. My very first client as a lawyer, mine was a man named Alejandro Suarto. Alejandro was an illegal alien from Central America. And Alejandro had saved up his money to buy a double-wide trailer with new appliances, busted his butt. And he got his trailer from a mobile home dealership in Byron, Georgia. And when the mobile home showed up, it was single, not double, with used appliances. And when Alejandro Suarto went and complained, the man said, "You are an effing S-word slur for Hispanics. And you will get deported if you fight us." My very first client, y'all, I could write a nasty letter as a lawyer, and that was my very first. I banged out my letter, and I sent it certified mail to the general counsel of this mobile home company in Pennsylvania. Not 2 weeks later, this woman calls me and she says, "We are going to give Mr. Suarto a double-wide trailer with new appliances and then some." They were going to make him whole and then some. And I'm just laughing myself. Y'all, I am like fresh out of law school, just past the bar. My very first client, and I win big. And I'm like, this very nice lady from Philadelphia. I say, "Ma'am, can I ask you a question? Just lawyer to lawyer." She says, "Sure." I said, I got to set the scene for you here. I literally have just passed the bar exam, and Mr. Suarto is my first client. And I was expecting to fight with you. What exactly? Can you just explain your thinking on this to me? And she falls out laughing. She compliments me on my letter. And she says, "Okay, so here's the deal. Without acknowledging the fault of my client, lawyer to lawyer, I got your letter and I did not believe it. There is no way this happened. And I called our shop in Byron, Georgia, and I explained the situation, and the manager's first words out of his mouth were, 'Oh, I remember that effing S slur.'" Says, "He no longer works there. We'd like to make your client whole. We'll take care of him. I cannot believe this happened." And she was appalled. And y'all, this is essentially, the Democrats are okay with this system. They're okay with the Alejandro Suartos of the world coming here and working and being treated as third-class people and being taken advantage of because they keep our prices low. And they don't want a system that could put in place legal systems to allow the low price, because they got to give the canard of minimum wage. They got to do all that stuff, but they're perfectly fine with this shadow system where we don't actually respect the law. And they're perfectly fine to utter, yeah, basically these people are our new version of slave labor. And of course, it's the Democrats who justify it every single time. Now, there is no reason for me to justify for you the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. It just works. That's the justification stuff to get. So, hop on a flight to Texas tonight. I got one in my travel bag because I hold it in the palm of my hand. It's small and it wipes out odor. Somebody's smoking in the hotel room next to me. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm is going to take care of me. You can get 3 of them right now at EdenPureDeals.com. You save $200. You go to EdenPureDeals.com. You put in the discount code ERIC3, ERICK3, and you will get 3 Eden Pure Thunderstorms. You'll save $200. And they work. They not only trap pollen and dust, they also will wipe out odors. They wipe out litter box odors, pet odors, dirty diaper odors, smoke odors, frying odors, you name it. Get 3 of them, save $200. You go to EdenPureDeals.com. You'll see a discount code box. You put in Eric3, ERICK, the number 3, no space, EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code, Eric3. Y'all, I gotta speak highly of my eldest child who has done something. I'm a proud dad. So at her university last year, there's a tragic situation where a young man went into cardiac arrest and no one could do CPR and revive him. And then a few weeks ago, this situation a year later played out again. And this situation, it was, I know some of you are like, it's just the vaccine. Y'all, please. He was hit in the chest at hard force with a soccer ball. Very Damar Hamlin situation, which caused cardiac problems. There was no defibrillator and no one was performing CPR correctly. And my kid got certified by the Red Cross when she was in high school and has been essentially petitioning the university now to train anyone who wants free of charge on CPR. And she said they went to the dean, and the dean said, well, what if we have like 500 people show up and overwhelm it? And she said, well, that would be 500 people who would know CPR, so we won't have this sort of situation again. It's like, wow, kid. Well, she got an email this morning that they're going to start CPR training and for any kids who want it will be able to train and be certified in CPR. So good for her. Leading this charge and working with others to make it happen. It's great. I'm glad. So now I got to say something here, and this is personal to me. I'm doing an event tonight up in Kennesaw, Georgia, and normally I would hang out at this event. And if you're listening and you're coming tonight, I want you to know right now, I'm not trying to be rude, but I have a flight tonight at 11 o'clock. I got to leave at 9 p.m. because I got to check luggage too. I got to leave at 9 p.m. so I can get to the airport by 10 p.m. to get my luggage checked before the cutoff window to make this flight to go to Austin, Texas, so I can interview the governor of Texas in his house tomorrow. So when I bolt out of there at 9 p.m. tonight, understand I'm not being rude. I have to get to the airport. It is important. All this stuff got to work tonight. So I will see many of you at the Governor's Gun Club tonight for a great event with This Stuff Matters. The rest of you, tomorrow, I will be broadcasting live from the Governor's Mansion in Austin, Texas, with Governor Greg Abbott and Governor Brian Kemp to talk about, well, the border, the election, and UGA versus Texas.